I'm the founder of Hope Spring Eternal Introduction Agency and the founder of Gossip Talk Shows. So today I'm on my own and the speakers are having a break. So today I'll be talking about safe dating for teenagers. Basically, what I will cover is uh, I will cover when the teenagers are ready to go to start dating. What about you when the teenagers decide their age of dating because everything is a choice? The right date for you and how to ask for a date, accepting and refusing a date, and dating and how often and how late, and what to do on a date. And the other one is falling in and out of love. It's all about love and expressing the affection and sexual relationship before marriage and going steady getting married. So that's what I will be covering today on the topic. And I know there are some basically parents who worry about children start dating early. They worry about the school, how they introduce kids to sexual, sexy talks and stuff. And I think as parents, you worry a lot about your children, so which is understandable. But what I've realized is I actually didn't realize I thought it was wrong for the schools to actually introduce the children to sexy talk and drugs talk and everything at a very young age. But now that I know what I know with these kids, because my daughter, she sometimes when she has her friends coming for play dates and stuff, which they're same age, and sometimes I ask questions, and you actually come to realize that actually these children, they know more than you realize. You start talking to them, and the things that comes out of their mouth, and they're like, I think the schools are doing the right thing, because sometimes I think it's better for the children to learn than to enter a situation without a knowledge of what is going on. So sometimes I feel that I think learning about um, sex and stuff, I think it's good. I think it might be a good idea because, like, my daughter, she's 14, and they were telling me about in the area, basically, they know all the children that are involved into drugs. When they're talking about drugs and talking about all these different things. So it shows that it shows basically that maybe the schools are doing the right thing, but because us parents we worry about that. So I'm gonna talk about overcoming shyness. Sometimes there are some children who are very shy and who are very self-conscious about everything. Uh, they're self-conscious about whether they are admirable, and they find it very challenging to actually believe that basically, and they feel embarrassed about their lives. Some teenagers, they feel embarrassed about their lives, and mostly it's because they focus too much on social media, and sometimes they feel comfortable when they are with the opposite sex. So sometimes it's nice to actually, for parents to actually talk to their children, and then the conversation has been asked. it kind of feels weird when the parents just goes will go and start the conversation if they have not been asked. If your daughter is asked you about their worries, or if you ask them about do you have any worries in your life and stuff, if you bring up the subject, then that would be your place as a parent to talk about it. But if you bring up the subject and the child will tell you that you are freaking me out right now. Because for me, as a psychologist, now I look back, I'm like, if my father would have maybe came to me and talk about sex, or if my mother would have come to me and talk about sex, I'll be like, wow, you're freaking me out. If I hadn't asked for that advice. So we have some girls, they grow up sooner and they are ready for dates. And there's some girls, they start dating late. And sometimes this is why they, some girls, they are basically shy, and some girls, they those who grow up early, they'll start sneaking out, going clubbing, and with the fake IDs and stuff. And those who grow up late, they take their time basically to understand who they are and try to find their identity. So for this like message is for the parents, like if your child is decided to grow up late, to grow up early, is it something as a parent that you've done? Sometimes it's not. It's not what you have done. You can be an amazing parent. You can give your child everything that they have ever asked for, but they'll still do whatever they want anyway. So as a parent, you need to be aware of that your teenagers, they just gonna go off and do whatever you want, no matter how hard you try. So you don't have to be too hard on yourself and say, "Oh, why is my child is different?" They're different because that is their personality, and that is the journey that they have to go through it. Sometimes some people, some teenagers, they struggle because that journey is a bumpy journey. Sometimes they grow up early. When a child grows up early, they have sex early. It's gonna be a bumpy road. And those who decide to grow up later, sometimes they have their own challenges. So they are off to a good start, both of them. So we can't say this one is bad and that one is bad. It's just both of them, they decided the difference that I'm gonna grow up early, and this one says I'm gonna take my time and understand who I am, which is fine. So you don't have to start comparing your teenage girls and teenage boys and say, listen, and you don't have to start comparing your children and say, why is my child doing this and the other child is not doing it? Some point you see your friends, teenagers, they are just well behaved, or your child is not. So you don't have to compare your children when it comes to it's life. Life is full of challenges. So all work and no play. Many high school girls they complain that the boys they know have no time for girls. Some girls, they complain that the boys they know, they don't have time for boys. It is true. They are serious minded boys, there are some serious minded girls, all ages. Depends with the hobbies, it depends with the children's plans. Some children they take their future very, very serious. Um, they take their future very, very serious. It depends with their parents. Some children they watch their parents and their parents don't lie to them. They do explain that if you want to achieve this, you're gonna have to do this. So that's why sometimes girls will be complaining that boys don't have time for boys and boy and girls don't have time for boys because children are different and they grow up differently in different stages. So is it bad? No, it's not. No matter how hard you try as a parent, you can do your best. That child will decide who they want to be when they become a teenager. So it doesn't mean that as a parent you have not done any. Sometimes some children they talk about studying, nothing else. And I was watching one of the TV with my daughter TV program. They are all in a private school, and this girl she's constantly annoying. So it basically all she talks about is schools. Even when the boy takes her on a date, she has a notebook where she's ticking everything, and I'm like, oh, okay, that is boring. And and then girls will complain. Uh, when the boys talks about school all the time, girls they'll start complaining that it's boring. But then what they don't understand is sometimes there's everyone for everyone. So if you find a teenager that finds somebody who talks about school, so I think that means that person that's who they are. When they grow up, that means they're gonna have a steady. They're gonna start getting jobs very early. So that means that's who they are. But some teenagers they see it as boring, but then you could get to know, if you are a teenager, you could get to know that person. If it's school that they love, that person, you can get to know them and start learning about why they love school, why they love what they do. But children makes a decision and say, oh, this one is boring anyway, and they start complaining. But they never seems to notice that is their interest. They don't realize that it is their interest. So maybe parents, when your child is start coming and say, "Oh, that boy that I like is boring. He talks about school all the time." So maybe you could tell your child that it is their interest. It's the same. Just get to know them and try to find out why they love the things that they love to do, instead of them complaining. And sometimes the boys that wants to have a future in life, sometimes you're gonna have to miss out. Sometimes they miss out on their childhood, because sometimes if you really, it's like some teenagers. Sometimes if they really want to have a future, they're gonna have to miss out on playing with other kids, or maybe on some activities, which is that's what I did myself. I missed out a lot. Um, I missed out a lot on playing with the other kids, because I was busy doing other things. That I wanted basically to have a future, and I wanted to become somebody. And becoming somebody, it means you have to learn about something that you want to become. So sometimes you're gonna have to do that as a child, or as a teenager. You're gonna have to do that. So we're gonna talk about not ready to date. The teenagers when they are not ready to date, because sometimes people feel, some children when they are playing with other kids, they feel that they have to fit in. But if you're not ready to date, you are not ready to date, and that's it. As simply as that. You don't have to fit in. You don't have to lie to your friends and say, "Oh, I'm not dating because of this." You don't have to make excuses. Just say, "I'm not ready. It's not weird. I'm not weird that I have not I had a boyfriend. I'm not ready. When I'm ready, my time will come." Just be straightforward. You don't need to lie to other children, other teenagers, just to try to fit in. So it is a good idea to investigate the reason why a particular individual is slow to get started dating. So it is a good idea, instead of judging your child, or sometimes your friend, the friends are judging you. So sometimes it is good to find out. Sometimes the people are not ready for date because they are shy and bashful. So when someone is shy, they may need some encouragement in getting social experience. Sometimes some children they struggle with social experience, and that can affect their lives. So that means that's when a parent will need to basically to basically to teach your child, you help your child with some activities where they can feel comfortable. I'm not when I'm saying you take your child, you help your child, you give us some encouragement. I'm not saying play a matchmaker. No, you don't do that to your child and playing a matchmaking nomsa joke. No, you don't do that. You take your child to do some social and to basically try to help her not child uh, with some social experiences. Maybe he or she will need to be drawn into a group of activities for starters with other people. So try to do that. No matchmaking, please. Is a current that is a no, no, no. Don't try to matchmake your child unless you've been asked to do so. So don't try to play a matchmaker to your own child. Otherwise, mama or daddy will get in trouble. So that's that. So sometimes it could be basically the child has interests and dreams that are not shared by his contemporaries. So that means you have to find out from your teenage child that basically what are their dreams. You're gonna have to find out in order for you to help your child. You're gonna have to find out their dreams. Without judging them. Try to find out their dreams and their hopes and dreams, and without moving their life into their lives as well. And so they might need further. They might need all those social, basically groups to actually further their to develop their unique personality. So sometimes it could be confidence that is basically a problem, maybe it could be caused by the school, high school. Sometimes the children can be mean to each other. So that means that's when, as a parent, you help your child. And or it could be some young people have been hurt in the process. Sometimes some young children have been hurt in the process when they were growing up. They may need some basically special help to strengthen out their social skills. So they will need to basically they will need help to realize that what they have within them, they have the potential. They could be basically to become who they want to become, so they can be happy. uh, there are so many resources, special counselors, it could be psychological services that can offer guidance facilities that can help this kind of unhappy young person and those who are concerned with their happiness. And basically just be carefully guide your child to the right direction. Or sometimes it could be churches. Sometimes I find that when you go to church, when your child, hi Joy, uh, thanks for watching. If you have anything you want to say, please just feel free to communicate with me. It's fine. Sometimes I find the churches are very, very helpful because in church, there's people are not very judgmental. There are some people who are judgmental, but I find it when you go to church, um, there are people who are family oriented in church. That if you introduce your children, if you go to your children, not forcing them to actually become Christians, but if you go to a church, you introduce your child to the church so they know, because like the church is mostly they do help the teenagers a lot. So you can, like in my church, my daughter used to come to church with me a lot. And when she turned that age, 12, she's 14 now. When she's turned to 14, and I say, let's go to church. I don't force her. Sometimes she comes with me, sometimes she doesn't. But in my pastor, every time they do like children activities, they do teenagers activities. So I have my pastor's number. He hasn't got my daughter's number. So every time they are doing the activities, it's in church, or there's something like a gathering, like a food. They always make food gathering for the teenagers. So every time there's those kind of event, he texts me. Sometimes they'll be doing like during the school terms, they'll be doing something after school, children gathering together, having pizza. That is actually showing your child that if there is something that you can't talk to me, you have another home. So she knows that there's people in church that she can talk to if she wanted to, if she can't talk to me about dating. Because for me, basically, as a matchmaker and a psychologist, I have to be careful. I am aware of what it does to the children when the parents start to mingle with their lives. So I leave some things alone. There are some things that I leave them alone. And when I'm asked, then I talk about it. I'm happy to talk about the subject. Or and that's how I roll. So or sometimes when they have their friends, we start talking about the subject, and then we bring in the boys the subject, and they'll tell me like who they fancy on TV. I'm listening. I'm not discouraging. I'm listening because we are having a conversation. So that's where I basically start looking at who my child is and start questioning. That me just bringing that conversation about saying, oh, about dating, that freaks out, that will freak out your child. So don't try to do that and play a matchmaking or whatever. But then some girls, they develop, the girls are different. They develop their everything is different. So it will be, so as a parent, you have to understand that when you see maybe your friends' children, and then when you see your child, things are different, so you have to accept that because people are different, children are different. So, how to become popular? So, now we talk about the teenagers. How can they become popular? Some children become popular for the wrong reasons, but sometimes most teenagers would like to be popular if they could with everybody else. But many, they basically they don't know what does it take to achieve popularity or even to get a date. So there are some things that the children have to know all these things. First, you have to stay away from social media. Your child, if they are that person that they spend time on social media, they just gonna start behaving like these people that they see on social media. And they need to understand about the attractiveness. What does it mean when the attractive of the opposite sex? It does help when you like if the conversation is brought up to explain what does it mean to be when it comes to attractive being opposite sex. Also, they need to understand that sometimes boys will expect what boys expect of girls. So sometimes girls need to understand that and what girls expect of boys in a given community. So especially is very, very important. And also is very, very important when you teach your child. You don't teach your child based on your society. They have to learn what is expected of them based on their image, based on who they are, based on their want, not based on the society, what is it, the society is expected of them. So I don't do myself, I don't do what the society expect. I do what my character, I do what I'm expected, what God expects me to be as a person. That's what I do. I don't do what the society expects me. So it is very, very important to basically be specific to your children. Maybe use your beliefs as well. Beliefs can help your child to become who they want to be. I'm not talking about the scary, freaky beliefs. So just talking about Christianity, talking about other things that might help you to, help you to become who you want to be. So it is nice to introduce them to your children. If they have helped you to be where you are, and you're successful with everything, so then it maybe might be nice to introduce them to your child, so it can help your child as well. And sometimes in general, young people like members of the other sex who basically who understands them, and carefully they choose to hang out with those people based with those teenagers based on their personality appearances as well, and if they are funny to be with, and based on their mindset as well. Like my children, I was talking to them yesterday about the friends they used to hang out with. And I was like, why are you not hanging out in the children? They're like, oh, this one is racist, so we can't hang out with this person because they are racist. And then we don't want to be like that. And I was like, oh, okay. And this one, no, this one is busy, this one is this. So children basically they hang out with the people that thinks like them. So it doesn't mean it's wrong. No, it's not, because they're growing up, and that they are actually finding themselves who they are. So it is fine for children to actually become who they want to be, because as parents as well, we become who we want to be. So a girl, when it comes to getting a date, you have to teach your children that they don't have to be a beauty to get a date. They have to look after themselves, but they don't have to be skinny. They don't have to actually stop eating so they look sexy, because nowadays the children, you think looking sexy is becoming skinny, and then that means you are beautiful when you're size 6, when you're size 8. That's wrong. That the people, the social media and the media is teaching children to be like that. That is wrong. They just have to dress up appropriate, be neat and well groomed. So that's why you can introduce your child. I'm not saying start changing your child to dress up like this. So for me, my daughter, sometimes you see what she goes out, what she's wearing, but I always say, I always preach to her that make sure when you go out, you're looking good, you're looking presentable. Boys don't need to know they don't need to see your boobs. So I always tell her that, but I don't actually annoy her with that. I say it, and then she will come down. She says, I know what you're gonna say, and I'm going to change. And I'm like, okay, it's fine. So you don't have to be an annoying mother. As long as you send a message so your child understands instead of annoying them. Because when they're teenagers, everything as a parent that you do will be wrong, basically. That's what they think. So the same goes with the boys. They don't need to be skinny or anything. They just need to be neat, well and groomed, and just for and then try to forget the appearance about appearance. Some people put the appearance first. As long as you're looking good, you're looking after yourself, that is good. The clean hair combed and the fresh shirt, nails clean, and if you are a boy, you're acceptable. Your nails are clean, everything, your shirt, you're wearing it basically, you are probably attractive to somebody. So you don't have to go and glamorous and look at David Beckham's pictures and start basically wanting to look like David Beckham. You don't need to do that. That is his look. That is David Beckham's look. And there is only gonna be one David Beckham, not two. So we need to forget that and remind our children that they are good as the way they are. They look good the way they are. So, and what else what do we need to cover on this one? Um, then I think I need to go on the date for you. So the date for you. So let's talk about dates. Do we need to talk about dates? No, let's talk about proof. Prove it to your parents. I'm thinking what I need to talk about first. Let's talk about prove it to your parents. Okay, let's talk about prove it to your parents. And so sometimes girls will come home and with their eyes, and they've been asked by a boy to go out, and basically, and then the parents will have objections on the ground that she's still too young to date, and often the boys want to take a girl out, but his mother or a father, the parents basically, they'll want to know whether they can trust this boy. They'll want his full attention to his studies by wanting to know this their parents. So the parents will have objections when it comes to a child when the child will start dating. So they want to know the boy, whether they have when it comes to parents, even the parents of a boy as well, they want to know the parents of a girl as well. And they'll be giving lectures about there is a plenty of time later for playing around with girls. They'll be preaching, they'll be doing this. But I think sometimes for me, the advice that I can give the parents is when a child says, I want to date. I want to date this person. It is for parents to be there to support them. Because if you have objections, you can say your objections, but you can let them date, be friends. Because if you have objections and these two, they really, really like each other, they're gonna go for it anywhere behind your back. So I think that is what I think basically will be the best way. Because just because they're dating, it doesn't mean they're gonna have sex. It doesn't mean they're gonna do whatever they want. Sometimes the children they just dated to be friends. So you have to find out their mindset, where their mindset is, and just support them instead of them going behind your back, because we have been teenagers as well. As a parent, you have to understand that you've been in that place where your parents says no, and you basically, just because they said no, you become curious of wanting to basically to go against what they say, basically just trying to prove a point. So I will say to parents, not annoyingly, but be there to support your child and making sure that you let them know that they can date, they can know each other, they can hang out. But when it comes to sex, they are too young to have sex. And explain what happens when somebody has too young, they have sex too young, and just be there, support them, because children likes to be supported. We are where we are because we had the parents that support us, but some people they didn't have all that support. But if you are there, your child, and try to support them, because having sex too early is not a good thing either. The child has to understand what they're getting into. So that's when a parent comes in and basically support your child and making sure that you are supporting them and letting them know that this is what happens when you have sex too early, because you don't know that this boy, you're gonna be with them for a long time. So might as well keep yourself to yourself, your body to yourself, until you know what is actually sex and not what you've learned. Because some children think just because they've learned about sex at school, they know, but they don't. Sex is a decision where you have to make a choice that I'm ready to do this, not just because your friend has had it and you want to have some as well. So you don't. That's not how it works. So that's when how parents, the child, the teenagers, will have to convince their parents that they are ready for dates. So this is the question that is asked by young people all over, like around the world. Sometimes, of course, the parents are right that are you ready to ask these questions? That are you ready? If you are ready, like they will say, maybe they will say you're not mature. They will say to their child you're not mature, or they because they worry about the daughter not being mature, or the the son not being mature, but it's actually, it will be up to the teenager to actually prove that they are ready, they are grown up. But how do you do that? You have to take, as a parent, you have to take really responsibilities. So as a child, a teenager, you take really responsibilities around the house. If I can leave you and you cook for yourself, you're doing this, that means maybe you are ready to take responsibilities by helping with chores, car washing, cleaning, lawn mowing, showing up, by showing up and working together with families and doing your school chores for your pocket money for schools and getting like going out. If you are ready to date, that means you are 16. I'm not talking about a 14 like my daughter. I'm talking about 16 I'm talking about somebody who is 16. So that means you are ready to date. That means you are ready to have basically an understanding about better habits and good habits. So you parents, you can introduce your children to all those. If you are into personal development, you can introduce your children. But some children who goes to a private school, they are very lucky because private school they do introduce personal development to children, and they also bring speakers in to talk about different subjects, personal development. So some children are lucky, but some are not. I'm not sure whether public school they are doing it. I'm not sure. So so that would be that. Why not talk about it? Why not talk about it? Some parents they don't want to talk about sex. They don't want to talk about their teenagers dating. So many other, I mean, some young people too, they frequently they like to read books instead of talking about it. They like to read books. Sometimes some parents, when they want to give advice to their children, they go and read books, somebody else's advice. And remember that when somebody writes a book, they wrote a book specifically based on their childhood or based on their child. So when you read books, you have to be careful and talk about it as well. Talk about dating problems. It actually helps than going to read the books or than to go to the library and get a book for your child. So talk about it. Talk about it to your child at the right time. And there is no question about it. The more you learn about dating, the better. Talk about it every day, or maybe like bring out it as a topic or funny topic, not a preaching like you're preaching to your daughter, or she has something naughty or she's done something, and then you bring the subject. You don't bring that subject as a parent. So talk about it because sometimes it is the real fear when it comes to uh, give young people ideas beyond their years. So it is groundless. So actually, if they did not have the ideas, they wouldn't find such a reading of interest. So if you bring the subject and talk about it, or you go to the library, if there is a book that you've seen yourself, and then you can give your child some ideas. Say, I've seen this book, would you like to read it? But at first, you have to read it yourself and make sure that it is actually appropriate for your child. And getting to talk about it as well, it will help to actually not like when you're talking about it, not like making it wrong to your child that they are talking about it. It just because when a child asks the questions or they give you that opportunity for you to get to know them, to get to know their fears, and it is the opportunity for you as a parent as well to actually help your child. But all I always say is For me as well, I treat my daughter as my daughter. It's a different if we know each other very well and we are close, but it would never be friends. We are I have to keep my boundaries as a mother as well. So I let her know what I did when I was growing up, not like making it wrong that it was a mistake. No, it wasn't. Like just talk about how free my parents were. They let me be who I wanted to be. So that's what the same I expect for my daughter to be who she wants to be. And just give the advice when it's needed and when it's necessary. Not just when my child is grumpy or something, then I bring up the subject. Or if boys, they do hang out with boys. For me, when they hang out with boys and girls mix, it's fine because I know it is the community, it is the society, so they have to learn to hang out with uh, different different people. So to me, it's fine. I don't question why you guys are hanging out with boys because if I know their parents, I know their parents, and to me, they are just children within the community. So it is fine. So not to say not to like when a child is hanging out with people around them, you start questioning them, why are you hanging out? Or maybe stopping them to hang out because these children, what happens is I'm a nosy parent, but my children don't see it. So I try to keep it. What I do is they know that if like we live in the area where we live, they know each other, the children, they know each other. The schools, they all go to different schools, but they know each other because somebody goes to that school and somebody goes to that. So if the children wants to be children, they hang out. I have no reason to question them and say, why are you hanging out with that boy? I don't have a reason to do that. For me, I have to see it as a parent. It helped me to see it as these children are young children who are basically hanging out together as a family, getting to know each other. So that's how I see it. So I don't have to say, "Oh no, he's a boy. He's a boy. No, you can't hang out with him." No, I don't. I don't do that. I don't do that. So that's how I cope by letting them be. Sometimes I got to my GP once. I had my nurse, the nurse when I was going, I think I was going for a flu jab or something, and she was talking about it and asking me, it's like, oh, Hope, and didn't realize that Hope hangs out with her son. So she was telling me that, oh, yeah, they are going this way. And I was like, oh, your son, it's your son. And her son had come here as well in my house to hang out. But I didn't know that that was her mom. And just let the children, if they want to hang out, to hang out. Don't be a parent that say, oh no, you can't hang out with boys, you can only hang out with girls. That's when the children start becoming curious and start keeping secret from you. So that's how things are. Sometimes some children they joke about sex, and they joke about sex and cheap too. But it's easy to basically to differentiate things when to be just to listen to your children when they are having a discussion. Uh, it kind of help to know where your child's mindset is. It does help. So now we come to a teenager. Are you ready to date? How is it that people start dating at such a very, very young age? And the others are so much older before they begin to have dates. All the teens are eagers, and their parents often wonder what is the best age to begin dating. So the question looms nowadays because many young people started dating so early in life. Should parents be concerned? Should I be concerned about my child dating age? Is there really a special age which date should begin? So that is the question that you as a parent, it depends with your religion, depends with your beliefs as a parent. Every child is different, and every family, they were brought up different, parents were brought up different, every beliefs are different, they are really, really different. So when it comes to a child and start dating, we depend with the child. I'm not here to actually give you, say, a child you should start dating this age. It depends on the child and their family. Like myself, my daughter, she's 14, and I feel she's still young. But if she was to find somebody that she's going with at this age, but we have to understand the difference. At this age, when children say they're dating, they're not dating for sex. They're dating for friendship. So they call it dating. So sometimes some parents, they can stress out and get stressed out, and they start telling their children, "No, you can't do this," and that's when it end up driving them to actually be curious about why are they stopping us to do this, and then they're gonna want to experience whatever they want to experience. So that's what some children, they are early birds. They want to date at a very young age. It depends with the it doesn't depend with the parents, it depends with the child, whether they've been introduced to that environment very early, uh, whether they've been whatever. It depends basically with the lifestyle, the parents, how they live, that child, how basically the choices that they make. Some children, they're very mature, they get mature at a very, very young age, which is actually scary for parents. So some children are early birds when it comes to dating. That's why some dates earlier than others. So that is the questions. There are some reasons that teenagers start dating early ages than others do. Why is because it's because of social experience has had. Some children, they have better social experience, like these children, like my daughters and her friends, their social experience, you can see them that they have this social, they are basically, they can socialize in anywhere. So they are ready to do this, to do that, they do that, they do that. So sometimes it depends. Sometimes it depends on the social experience that a child has and how many social opportunities they are open to given age and social status. Some people, they even at the age of 21, they're still shy. They've never been on a date, they've never been spoken to a woman or a boy because they are very shy, and because of, sometimes it could be because of what they've gone through, based on their upbringing as well. Sometimes, yeah, upbringing plays a very, very important part as well when it comes to teenagers dating. So that's why some children will start dating early birds, and there's some children who will not. The folks at home. So parents who are social active themselves tend to encourage their sons and their daughters to participate in social events from a very, very early age, from a very young age. They arrange mix-up parties, which I don't do that. Mix-up parties for their children. I don't do that. My children, they go to birthday parties when they are invited. So that's I don't do mix-up parties. Hi, Claudia. So that's what when somebody start ill dating is because of their social. Sometimes parents they will send their children to dance classes, which sometimes they have parties, and Sometimes they buy them nice clothes for them to go out, like most parents who are wealthy. They like to have parties that like they have events specific for their children because they want them to mingle with this child. And sometimes parents, because they like to play matchmaking behind somebody else's child's back, behind their children's back. Sometimes they have, if they are wealthy, they have their friends who are wealthy, and they feel that their friends should hang out with their wealthy friends, children. So sometimes they have parties and things like that. So sometimes and then children will start dating early because the parents introduce them to say, you can do this, you can do that. I don't do that with my children. They do go to they do go to these birthday events, sleepovers and things like that. And but I don't do they go dancing. But when we go dancing, there are no after parties. If they go to a party, I have to basically, yeah, they do go to the parties, but mostly it's birthday parties, not like parties where they've been arranged to specific for social activity. Um, no. So it depends with the childhood as well, how you're bringing up your children as a parent. So that will play a very, very big part of when they start dating. So it will depend on that. And sometimes you will find that the children are different. Basically, people are general different. You'll find that the children that are being introduced to go to parties, you'll find that they have no interest in dating. So things are different. Like myself, when I was growing up, I my family they used to go to parties. I my stepdad comes from a wealthy family. They'll go to parties and stuff. But I would find any interest in parties. I just say I'm staying at home. So children basically are different when it comes to socializing. So it is very, very important to actually know that your child is different and accept that they're different. If they start dating early, don't compare them to somebody else, uh, because that's what it is. That is the challenge as a parent that you're gonna have to face. Like I said before from the beginning, is there something that you've done? No. So it's basically based on their social, the school, vocational goals that children have goals as well. They have dreams when it comes to their lives. They have hopes. They have dreams. So uh, that's what happens when it comes to life. So some children may want to basically want to know the boy that they want to date. What is their what is their dreams for the future? Do they have any goals for the future? So some children are very clever. If a boy hasn't got goals, they're like, no, I need to focus on my future. So does it mean it's bad when a child is basically deciding that I'm going to date later? No, it's not. So you just have to let your child be. And at your own pace. Just leave them at their own pace because some teenagers are ready for dates before others, and some children are basically simple mature before others. Sometimes the boys who shoot up tall and manly in their early teens, they're ready for date before. Sometimes the girls who develops early so that they're different, so they can grow up early and try to basically going on dates. So children are different like us adults. That's how they are. Experience counts. So now we talk about experience. How much time do I have? So experience counts when it comes to younger children, basically who belongs to social groups. Um, when it comes to dating situation, it's more easily during adolescence than basically than does the youngsters who basically than a youngster who's basically didn't grow up with socially active as a child, who didn't grow up socially active as a child. So for those who grew up in a socially active as children, it's different. Why? Because those have who have had different social skills. Uh, they have developed the social skills, and those who have not, they have less experience than those who have learned. Like my daughter, I teach her to arrange things. I teach her basically to be her because one day I might not be around. So I teach her to basically to do things. So that's why experience counts. Basically, sometimes some children who basically uh, go to social activities, they know how to carry the conversation. They know how to handle an introduction. They know how to dance. They know how to eat properly. They know how to accept and refuse invitation. So when a child goes, he knows about social activities. So those are the things that they are aware of. Sometimes they get invited, the children, they say no. But somebody who has never been into that environment, they will find it really, really hard in their teenage times to actually be able to go on dates and be able to carry those social to get it basically have the social skills. That means that's where parents they'll have to step in and help. But as a parent, when your child is growing up, I think it's very, very important to help them with their social skills. And so they can carry the conversation when they're older. And and some boys and girls they pick up normal basically social behaviors as they are growing up from their childhood, um, because when a child is fortunate introduced to social skills, that means that they are fortunate and they don't suffer. But some they don't suffer the embarrassment. Some children they do. So but some they do suffer embarrassment that confronts teenagers, and which is those who have the opportunity to actually get involved in social skills in their own suffer. So the young person with a limited social skills experience, they must basically face uh, the discomfort for basically of not having those social skills. But some children, they learn. They learn very quickly. There's some children who basically will be upfront and say, listen, I didn't grow up the way you did. Could you please teach me what you know? But some children, they don't. Some teenagers don't. There are some, for me, if I was a teenager, I want to learn. There are some things like in the UK, I didn't grow up in the UK, but I didn't ask anyone to teach me. I had to read books. I had to ask like my friends who are British how they do things. Like they ask me, I'm from Africa, they want to know about Africa. Like sometimes I know my pastor, like my pastor was going uh, to Africa. That's what made me realize they were going to Africa as a family. So she was like saying, "Oh, I hear this when you go to church. This you can't do this in Africa. You can't do this." When I was there, you can't do that. Like when you go to African churches, but now they do. African churches, they do it now, wearing trousers in church. I see that they do it. But before, when I was there, you wouldn't wear a trouser in church, but not because it's bad. Uh, Before, I wouldn't understand it, but now I realize that the relationship with you and God is actually private. So whatever you do is private, whether you wear a trouser, if somebody wears a trouser, might go to church and say hallelujah and mean it. Somebody wears a dress and might say hallelujah and they don't mean it. So between you and that. So whatever you do. So that's how life is. Which is to come to the point where it is up to you. It is up to a teenager. Occasionally, one finds a young person who bitterly blames their lack of social success. You will find on their background, you'll find sometimes the teenagers, they'll be blaming their parents, they'll be blaming, well, how or whatever their upbringing. So it is good for a child if you're a parent and you are there. It is good to tell them it's not too late, they can learn whatever they want to learn. Sometimes it could be due because of lower income. Sometimes it could be, I'm not sure if the income really plays a big part, because I actually don't spend loads of money for my daughter, although even though I have the money, she doesn't spend so much money. She just goes out and hang out with her friends. As long I know she has a card, she can spend, buy a drink, not stealing a drink. So sometimes going out, it doesn't really cost you so much money. So sometimes it could be lower income from family with a lower income. But as a parent, I don't think you should blame lower income. Basically, it is your job and your duty to make sure that you introduce your child uh, to to social skills. And that when the child will start blaming them, that kind of attitude, you can defeat them. Basically, it's self defeat, uh, unfortunately. So it is nice for a child basically to actually, if they know that their social skills are not the same like other people, instead of wasting time and complaining about their lack of advantages, and maybe rather use it to prove your social skills. So maybe teach your child to uh, basically teach them, introduce them to the social skills. So I think I'm gonna end it today, and I'm gonna do part two. So it is actually nice for your child. Maybe I need to talk about the opportunities. What are the chances, the opportunities, or dating? They think. So what are the chances that you have a real opportunity for dating as a teenager? This is the key question that you need to ask yourself. Do you have a really opportunity for dating? Yes, you do as a teenager, because there's everyone for everyone. Uh, if you feel that you don't have enough dating skills or you don't have enough social skills, you can learn about basically the skills. You can learn about the skills, and those skills will determine when you begin to date. If you have no one to go with, then you can't date, no matter how ready you are. If there are few social events in your school or community attended by both girls and boys, so that means your dating may again be delayed. So that is, unless you take matters into your own hands, creating opportunities of your own may be hazardous, or it may make the difference between dating and not dating at all. So you have to look at the basically the factors that are involved. Offer defense and fun. Some schools, churches, and communities, they provide the opportunities for younger girls and younger boys to date and especially become social experts. Some churches, they do that. They offer good youth program. Like my church, they do have good youth program in which a young person can find friends and activities, and they can encourage each other, interact between uh, the boys and girls. They can have, and sometimes when social programs are combined um, with opportunities of discussing and reviewing one personal progress, Sometimes churches they do that where children will go in and talk about themselves, and so they get to know each other. Basically, that is a really advantage during the teen years and into young adults. Most person and whatever boys and girls they can learn about themselves and be well dating partners. That's where people meet. They meet in church, they meet in this, they meet in this, they meet in all sorts of different places. So I think that's what I'm going to leave it today. I might do the part two as well next time. So for those who are watching, and thank you for watching. And we are here at Ngozi Talk Show Monday to Friday, 1 p.m. UK time. So if you are watching this video later, please share some heart button, press some heart button and share some love with your family and friends. And live with grace, everyone. If you want to get in touch with Ngozi Talk Show speakers, please go to Ngozi Talk Show's page and get in touch with our speakers, whoever the speaker you want to get in touch with. So you can get in touch with and we'll get back to you. And if you want to get in touch, if you are single, you want to get in touch with the Hope Springs Eternal Introduction Agency, you can go to my website www.tedxtalk.com and send me a message through the website, or I'll get back to you, or call whatever you want. Or the speakers, if you're looking for speakers at Ngozi Talk Show, you can do the same phone call. God bless you, everyone. With grace. Ngozi Talk Shows. See you soon, guys.